Hi, this is Jackie,
Hi, this is Diana.
and you're listening to Home Bodies Only, where we welcome all bodies to join us as we break down and dissect HBO series. But this episode is a special episode. It is part of our hopefully bonus series. Home Bodies Only goes behind the scenes, and our special guest today is Laurent Rejto, and he is the executive director of the Hudson Valley Film Commission. So,
Hi.
welcome, Laurent. We are
Hello.
Thank
so
you so much
excited to
for
have
joining
you.
us.
Thanks for having me. For reaching out.
Yeah. So, I really just wanted to start with what tell us. Well, I really want to start with what led you to the Hudson Valley
Uh,
initially.
well, I was actually in the film business in the city, and I made the escape, which is very hard for people who live in Manhattan or in the city, and ended up buying a house up in southern Ulster County, and started meeting film people, and realized that I might as well try to bring films here or try to help out with films up here, and just started networking with film people who had also escaped from New York City, and slowly built it into a commission where people could communicate and network and get together and help each other, because it's a difficult business, and it's all about who you know, and working with a team. And so that happened pretty early on, probably 1990 actually, and then developed into the film commission eventually.
Wow. Um, I guess what are your responsibilities? What's like a
The whole
typical?
idea is really the entire impetus of the film commission, the Hudson Valley Film Commission, is to make it easier for people to produce film and TV in the Hudson Valley. So it's basically an extension of what I needed when I first came up here, which is knowing who the local crew members are, who the local actors are, where the local vendors are, and those resources, pooling those resources and making them available to productions that come to the area. We've gone way past that, where now we're marketing the area and bragging, I guess, about
Yeah.
all the big shows and the
Yeah.
HBO shows, and uh, I mean, that's over the years that's happened. A lot of people think this is all recent, but in 2001, we worked with Rebecca Miller on a big production. Rebecca Miller's married to oh my goodness, it's embarrassing. Only Daniel Day Lewis, only like the greatest
Oh.
actor. And, that was one of our first films, and then we did Down to the. That was called Personal Velocity, and Personal Velocity ended up winning the grand jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival. And then a year
Wow.
later, we did a movie, Deborah Granick's movie, Down to the Bone, with a new actress called Vera Farmiga, and that won the grand jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival.
Sundance.
Every 2 years, we would win the Sundance Film Festival.
Wow.
It was kind of crazy. And then Stephanie Daly ended up winning with Timothy Hutton and Tilda Swinton. So it was kind of weird. It was kind of fantastic. In 2008, I think Man on Wire won the documentary
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Philippe Petit,
Yep.
and part of that was filmed up here. And Philippe lives up here, so we had this crazy streak where every 2 years we a local film would win the Sundance Film Festival. And then we had other productions. In 2004, we worked with a pretty well-known director called Steven Spielberg
Hmm.
on
I've heard of them
a
in
movie called
passing.
War of the Worlds,
Oh,
uh,
yes. Yep.
with
Yeah.
Tom Cruise,
Hmm.
and that was our first like ridiculously big job. And when people say, "Oh, the business is just starting," and I'm like,
No.
you have no idea. 1,000 extras on that job, and we were very involved in finding the place where they filmed the scene where they're running onto the ferry boat and the ferry boat gets capsized. So that was 3 nights in December. It was freezing rain, I remember, and there were like 700 crew members. The Friar Tuck Inn. I don't know if you remember the
Oh my gosh.
Friar Tuck Inn was full.
Wow.
Really quick, just out of sidebar, I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Buffalo, but my husband is from Kingston. And so I remember being in college, him inviting me for
To the Friar
New
Tuck.
Year's Eve at the Friar Tuck. And we stayed there. It was the creepiest.
You stayed there. Wow.
Oh my God. It was a whole like big, and then
I think I had a prom there. I think.
Yeah.
Sure.
There was like an Elvis impersonator. There was all of these different rooms, and
probably downstairs. They had a great
wild
stage downstairs
yes.
that looked totally like Vegas.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yes.
It's a great
and then
location.
it shut down.
It's still there.
Yeah.
But, unfortunately, it's no longer filled or used. But anyway, so that's just a little. So, and then we had another film. What was it? 2005. We had The Night Listener with another pretty well-known actor called Robin Williams. That was pretty amazing as well. And I remember I was in Texas. I was at South by Southwest trying to drum up some new films. And I came back and I took a taxi home. And the taxi driver had heard a rumor that Robin Williams was at the mall buying Xboxes for everybody. And it's true. He bought Xboxes for the entire.
Oh my gosh!
So he was, legendary. His legend. I mean, he was supposed to be the nicest person ever.
Yeah.
And so he filmed the Night Listener here. So we've had we had some really big productions right off the bat, and that's only grown. Things changed drastically. Probably in around 2017, 2018, we had a movie called A Quiet Place, which we were very involved in. They reached out very early because they needed to grow corn, and they needed to grow corn on 100 acres. So they needed a place really early so they could do that. Wow. And so we compiled all the farms in the region and we sent them hundreds of farms, and they ended up settling on one in Pawling, New York. And that was probably the most successful film that's ever been done here. So that kind of opened the doors because the film business is tiny and everybody knows everybody. So everybody just started talking about how, filming upstate is great. And that led to all these the streamers, which kind of changed the business completely when we started doing TV shows. The first TV show was the one called Happy-ish, which was based out of Woodstock, actually. And that was Showtime. And then
I remember when they were going to be filming. Yeah. Diana, did you work at the school? Sorry, I don't remember if you worked at the school when that was happening.
I think I came on to Woodstock. No, I've only been there like 8 or 9 years.
That was 2015. The reason I remember it is because it was the coldest winter ever. It was so cold, and they were filming in the dead of winter. And it was literally like minus 20 on set, so it was crazy. But we were very involved in that one, and then we got a call from I Know This Much Is True, the Mark Ruffalo, Derek. Seeing Friends movie.
That's based off a book, I think.
Yeah, based off the book. And that kind of changed everything because that's what brought the streamers in. That was the first HBO project. And they had such a great experience that they kept coming back, and they're still here with Pretty Little Liars. Hopefully they'll keep coming back with more projects. I should say that before I Know This Much Is True, we had a project called The Dead Don't Die, which was a Jim Jarmusch movie with Bill Murray and Selena Gomez, and pretty much every star you can imagine. And some of the producers on that film were the same producers who worked on I Know This Much Is True. That's what I mean about how small the business is.
Yeah.
Those line producers came back with the HBO film, and then they went on to do White House Plumbers, and then they went on to do Poker Face. So it's all about making sure that the producers you're working with like like the area and like the resources in the area. And we have great resources compared to most places around the country. We have an incredible amount of crew members who live in the
Mm-hmm.
area because they can't afford to live close to the city, so they all live up here.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have incredibly talented actors, A-listers, not just people that are really famous, James
Right.
Earl Jones and James Bond, people like that.
Yes. That is so cool. There was something you said. By the way, that winter of 2015, I was pregnant. I remember how cold that was. And Dave kept looking online at houses in California that we couldn't afford in like Carmel. And I was like, "Wait, what are you doing?" He's like, I'm like,
Yeah, I needed to
I just
escape
ran.
for a
And
little
also
bit.
everybody kept saying, "Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall," because it was icy. And I was like, "Stop
Yep.
telling me not to fall."
Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. You just mentioned Dave, and I'm just going to say that the other thing that's really uh, that makes this area different than most areas is the fact that it's culturally been a place for the arts for over 100 years, since Bert Cliff started really in 1895. And so people are used to working with artists, whether they're musicians or
Mhm.
painters or filmmakers. And the film kind of uses all of those different aspects. They work with scenic artists, they work with sound, they sound with music, they work with musicians, they work with camera people. So it brings everybody together. And the other thing I was going to just say, because of Dave, is that the where he works, the former owner
Mhm.
of his place, his
Mhm.
daughter was a big film
Heidi.
person,
Yeah.
Heidi, and she still is,
Yes.
but she worked on trauma films, like the craziest horror kind of films that you can imagine. But she's working on a film right now. We're trying to help them. It's a wonderful documentary about Magic Women, the TV show. I forget the name of the show, of course, because I'm being interviewed right now. But it was
Mm.
a show on WPIX back in the '80s, and they're doing a wonderful job on that.
Back in the 80s. And it was about like witches, or what was it about?
No, it was an after-school movie. Magic. I'll find it
Ah,
before. I'll look it up on my phone while
We're not going like Magic School Bus here or anything, are
no.
we?
Oh
It was
God,
a
no.
Magic School
I did not.
Bus.
I didn't like that show. An after school special. I
I
used to
was
watch
always down
those.
for
Yeah.
those.
It was on every day, and it had like hundreds and hundreds of
Did,
Okay. So,
fans. But
wait,
in the 80s, you said 80s, right? Not
I mean
90s.
that's like our
I
yeah,
know.
I'm going
I know.
Degrassi, like Saved by the Bell, but like what?
No. We'll figure it out.
so
We'll
she,
figure it
so
out.
she worked. So some of her movies, she worked on Citizen Toxie, The Toxic Avenger, stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
And her dad Ollie
Hmm.
owned the garage before
Yes,
Dave took
where
over.
Dave has his garage, especially Swedish. And it's Heidi Scherson, right? Is that how you say her
Yeah,
last name?
yeah,
Heidi.
sure. Yeah. So the only point I'm making is that everybody's got a connection to some
Yes.
Mm,
film in one way or another.
Yeah.
Uh, Everybody knows somebody in the film business, and one of my favorite things to do. Please don't test me on this because I'll fail
I
probably,
won't.
but I love to do like 1 degree of separation. Like
Yes.
anytime someone mentions any film, I'm like, oh yeah, the sound man, the boom operator lived in Woodstock for 2 years and did something like that.
That's
There's
cool.
always a connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I first kind of realized there was more filming going on because of Tim, our mutual friend, because he rented a car from my husband to put in a movie, an old Saab. I think he rented a boat from him. And not him, but a woman. I forgot her name, but she got Dave's number through Tim. Actually, rented a rocking chair from us to put in a movie.
Oh,
Which
I
you
remember.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
The
like
one on your back porch,
yeah, on our
right?
back porch. It's like so funny, and I didn't even know. I don't think at the time I was like, "What? Like, what's going on
well,
around here?"
that's Tim's specialty, and Dave is one of the, Dave's great at that too, because those guys are pickers.
Oh yeah, that's a
The
nice thing.
magic, the
Oh,
magic
oh,
garden.
oh, right.
Yes. Yes, I
Oh,
remember that
okay.
show.
I did know. You
Okay.
know what? I did know Heidi was working on that because I think Dave told me. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's
Magic
a
Garden.
great documentary. It's called Magic
Oh,
Garden, Magic Women, and they're
oh
doing a
yes.
great
Oh,
job.
that's awesome.
So we try to help with documentaries. I mean, we'll try to help with anybody. I got an email from somebody making a short film today. Somebody from uh, around Salt Point, and we're
Hmm.
trying to find a supermarket for them. We'll try to help anybody just so that we can get productions going. Right now, even though there's all the writers' strike is going on, which has affected things in a big way, and SAG might be going on strike in
I
2 days.
heard.
The contract expires June 30th. I'm a
Ooh.
SAG member, so that's a little bit scary
Yeah.
because most films will not be able to continue without actors. That's one thing that
No.
cannot happen. There is talk that there's going to be waivers for independent films, so we're hoping that's true. But even though there's been all these threats of strikes, we've had a really good second quarter. We've had about 6 productions going, which is great. I'm tabulating all of the data right now, and I think over 700 people have been hired to work on films in the past 3 months. So
That's awesome.
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the amount of money that comes as a result of that, but it's huge. Just in terms of just hotels alone,
Right.
hotels, locations. When people rent locations, they pay for those locations.
Yeah.
Hiring background actors, we try to
Hmm.
get them to hire all local background actors. We try to get them to hire local crew members. We have a lot of union crew members in the area who can fill any position needed.
Hmm.
Um, and then that translates that's direct spending, and usually that translates to indirect spending where people will fall in love with the area, so they buy a house here, and
Right.
Hmm.
or they buy a candy store like Paul Rudd and Jeffrey Dean
Right.
Morgan and save it. That's huge. I mean, people don't really put two and two together when it comes to that, but that candy store wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for Paul Rudd and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's a
I
nice example of indirect spending.
Jackie's going to be bored with this story because I've told it 1,000 times. But I first you always like wonder, and as you get, at least for me, like I always, as I get older, I'm like, I love this stuff, like the background stuff and all. So I was a background whatever actress, whatever, an
Actor.
extra, but with a small little part in a film called Mascata.
Oh, sure.
So
Norman
I
Reedus.
I was Laura Benanti is the actress. I think she's more in she does more in Broadway, but she played this character. I can't remember her name in there, but anyway, in the film, I was supposed to be her supportive friend at this big scene that we shot at. The reason I was involved in it was because I worked at Carroll Durham, like the elementary school, and they asked me, asked some teachers or whatever to be. So I spent all day there for this one scene.
Right.
And they went through like my clothes, like freshened me up or whatever, because I had this like scene on, but I had to make the same face like 600 times. And I sat next to her. She was lovely, very gracious. And it was neat. Kellen Lutz was in it. I'm trying to think of who else was in it.
Norman Reedus was in that.
Yeah.
And Norman Reedus became incredibly famous because of The Walking Dead.
Yes.
And that was one of his first parts, or not the first parts, but local parts anyway.
Yeah.
That's
That was
awesome.
like it was cool to be, it was neat
I don't
to
think
see
he had a
that. And
crossbow in that movie either, because now people
it was crazy. So anyway, Jackie's been
Yeah,
bored
that's
by that. It's
no,
like,
no. I like to.
I get
well,
asked a
I
lot.
mean,
Don't get bored.
because you mentioned background work. That's a, people need to understand that it's a lot of waiting around and
Hmm.
sitting around, and it can be boring, but at the same time it can also be fun, and you meet people, like-minded people, and sometimes you get to be in a scene where they actually see you. Most of the time, your elbow might show up, or
Yeah.
the back of your heel, and people need to be prepared for that. They need to be told that. We're big about telling people the truth about things. We don't sell dreams, and we don't. You probably, if you're a background actor, you'll probably get bored, but you're going to get paid, and you're going to see what it's like to be on a film set. It's a great.
Hmm.
It's the best way to see how a film works.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get to be in an exciting scene with people that you just met, and it ends up being fun.
Yeah,
I used to
absolutely.
do that all the time. I used to, even as the film commissioner, like I would. That's how I started getting into acting, because I would get calls, last second calls saying, "Oh, we just lost our bar fly for tonight. And is there any chance you could show up in Athens at 2 in the morning?" And I'd be like, "Sure, whatever." So,
You're on
and
call. You're an on-call
Yeah.
extra.
Right.
yeah, I ended up being like every role you could imagine, uh, because of that. And then eventually, I got somebody gave me some lines, to some dialogue. It was actually for a movie called "We Are What We Are" by Jim Mickle, who has actually become very, very famous. He just did a TV series for Netflix called Sweet Tooth,
Mm.
which is really great. He didn't do it locally; he did it in New Zealand. But if you watch it, you'll understand why it's in New Zealand, because they use the landscape in a real special way. Jim is local. He's probably one of the most successful local directors we have. He did Cold in July with Don Johnson and Michael C. Hall and Sam Shepard. He did the Stake Land. He did We Are What We Are, and he gave me my first chance with dialogue, and that's when I got to join SAG. So that's the other thing. You get a break, and people give you some dialogue, and then you're allowed to join the Screen Actors Guild.
Mm-hmm. Very
There you
cool.
go, Jackie. Put it on our list.
All right, it's going on the list.
That doesn't
We
make it,
did.
that doesn't guarantee that you're going to get roles, because
No.
I mean, again, I'm all about the truth. So I think 95 or 96% of actors in the Screen Actors Guild are unemployed. So
Wow.
it's
Yeah,
it's,
we
it's a
got a good
difficult.
gig going on. We'll keep.
We'll keep podcasting.
Yeah. It's
Guaranteed
funny,
lines.
with Pretty Little Liars, though, it was funny because I did sign up and I got the call, or whatever you want to call it, to do some scene. Was it in high
This is
school, or
back.
I forget?
It was the Sororities High School. It was back in November. It was
But
back in the
during
fall of
COVID.
2020.
Yeah.
So
For Pretty Little Liars.
yeah,
Oh yeah, they did a few scenes at Saugerties, but they did most of the high school scenes were done in Claverack.
Claverack.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
I had
did
heard.
learn about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so there was a lot of people got hired on the first season. Second season, they're hiring a lot of people. I mean, they hire mostly people who look like they're 18 or high
Yeah.
schoolers, I
Yeah,
should
we're
say,
out of
under
that.
18.
I sometimes look like I'm in high school. Yesterday I was
Yeah.
at SUNY New Paltz and they were asking if I was going to orientation. I was like, no. So
Well, it's
are you blind? No, I didn't say that.
No.
I didn't say that. I'm just kidding. But he did. What is the coolest location in the Hudson Valley that you've ever seen? Like,
oh
and
my
or
god,
filmed, I guess.
oh my god.
That's a hard question.
I mean, probably the coolest location is it's called the Esopus Farms. It's down in across from Maris Brothers on Route 9W.
Yeah, passed it many times.
It's gorgeous. It's got a stone horse stable, which is with a clock tower that's just mesmerizing. And so Cold in July filmed there with Sam Shepard and Michael Paul. I forgot his name. Don Johnson and Michael C. Hall.
Nice.
We've recommended it for a few films. That's a great location. There's incredible locations on the other side. All the mansions on the other side. You know, all of. I mean,
yeah.
If you live in the Hudson Valley, you understand the difference between the west side of the Hudson and the east side of the Hudson. And they have all the Gilded Age mansions on that side. You know, the Mills Mansion and
Vanderbilt.
All those places are incredible. The Vanderbilt mansion. There's one after the next. There's Rokeby. There's Blythewood. There's so many. Blythewood at Bard. Bard has incredible locations.
Yeah. Oh, Bard's incredible.
Yeah.
It's an incredible. Do they allow film in, like the Vanderbilt, for example? Do they allow people to? Because I thought they couldn't because preserving and.
No, they can. You work through the state, through the Parks Department.
Okay.
It's not easy, but it's doable.
Yeah.
That's usually done through the state, through the Parks and Recreation Department. They have a special contact for that.
That's what I was going to ask you, who you interact with, like Ulster County Tourism.
No.
Do you like the chamber? Do you have to go through the Chamber of Commerce or anything?
We basically work. We work directly with locations. We're the only ones who've been doing this for 23 years, 24 years. We have a very good relationship with Dutchess Tourism and also Putnam Tourism. So we work with them. But for the most part, we have over 25,000 photos. So if people need anything, they'll reach out directly, and then we will create custom galleries for them. And then we will also post for something in case we don't have it. I just posted this morning for a lake house.
I saw that.
We have a few lake houses, but I figured that would be nice to get more. And that's for a film that's coming from New Mexico. And so that's, we work with the community really by posting like that. We have over 11,000 members on our like page, and then we have another 10,000 on our group page. And then we use Instagram, and we try to involve people. And when people reach out and say, I have a lake house, have them contact me. The hope is to create a mutually beneficial relationship where they will get their house rented for a month and they'll be able to pay off their property taxes. We don't charge a fee. We don't charge any money. So that's the whole idea, is to just create economic development by helping people get
I mean, listen, if you're looking for like a backyard bar, I got a bar called the Papa Top that would be great in a film.
There you go. Send me pictures.
Yeah.
Well, we have our stream back here, so access. We're right by Big Deep.
Well, that's all, man.
It's a different
I'm talking about,
we
Big
see
Deep
tons of streams around here.
Big Deep has been in a few films, quite a few.
Sure.
I mean, it's complete with a kegerator, its own sign. It's named.
There you go.
6 bar stools, a TV.
The most important when we recommend locations, we always think about other things like where people, when a film invades a property, so to speak, there's about 100 people, and those
sounds like a typical
people,
Saturday night at my house.
Well, if you have the room, then that's fine. But usually we need a place called holding, where people can get done and they can get their costumes, done. And so we always like to recommend, if we recommend a location, we always like to recommend a firehouse that's nearby that can be rented, or or a community center. It's always nice to be able to do that because that's where most of the people will end up, whether it's the hair and makeup or whoever will be at the community center, and people just go to set. Only the people that need to go to set go to set.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could rent out the school up the hill here. I live right by an elementary and a middle school. We have it's a whole location.
She has a whole hood. I mean, everyone in your neighborhood would also be like, you could take my house. Yes. Take my house.
We have not had any, I mean, there's been a few issues over the years. I'm not going to say there haven't, but for the most part, there's no issues at all. And you should never allow a production on anywhere near your property until you have a certificate of insurance and you've cleared their workman's comp and all these other issues that are important. But again, for the most part, the film crews are amazing. They'll come in and they'll repair anything if something's been damaged. And we had a house, I think, in Poughkeepsie where they had to break all the windows or something for a scene. But they told them ahead of time, and that was all worked out. No surprises.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I have a question, and then I think Diana has a few fun ones.
I have one fun question. I'm the go off on a tangent person in this relationship. So
if you could just tell us specifically the HBO shows that you've worked with. Just because.
All right. Well, the one that's going on right now is HBO Max. I'm so confused about why they decided.
We are
to
too.
We are too. I'm not going to go into that. That would. So right now, Pretty Little Liars Summer School is filming. They're filming mostly. They were filming out of Newburgh, out of Umbra Stages, and they're filming pretty much all over the place. They've filmed a lot in Dutchess County. They filmed in Ulster County, and they film in Greene County because they have reoccurring locations. For example, the Canary Excavating on Route 212 across from the landfill. That's one of their reoccurring locations. The Orpheum Theater in Saugerties is a reoccurring location. The cemetery in Catskill, the school up in Claverack. So they have all these reoccurring locations that they go back to, and so that they're they've gone everywhere, which is wonderful. Before that, we worked closely with White House Plumbers, and when I say closely, it was difficult because that was real COVID period of time. So, but we worked with one of our favorite location managers and recommended a few locations on that. That took place again mostly in Dutchess. They filmed all the private. E. Howard Hunt's home was in Poughkeepsie, so they filmed a huge amount in Poughkeepsie for that on Zach's Way, and they also filmed in Putnam County. The Attorney General's office was at an orphanage in Garrison. It's an amazing location, and they found, the guy, the location manager on that is Steve Grivno, and I think he knows the area probably now better than anybody on earth because he's worked on so many films here. And then before that, I know this much is true. So, well, of course, there was the first season, Original Sin of Pretty Little Liars. So there's been 4.
Right. And you did some with Gilded Age?
Wait, we did Sex Lives of College Girls.
Oh, we covered that show too.
We covered that show. That was one of our biggest amount of listeners, actually.
Over at Vassar.
We recommended Vassar for that. Yeah. And we recommended a lot of crew. We were very annoyed when they decided to move to Washington State. Their loss.
That's right.
Yeah.
So... And then wait. So, Sex Lives of College Girls. What am I forgetting?
Gilded Age. You said Gilded Age a little bit.
Gilded Age. Yeah, Gilded Age. We worked on. So, Gilded Age obviously was filmed up in Troy, but we recommended a lot of crew, and we did a lot of casting calls for that. And because the Hudson Valley has a lot of crew members, they would go up there and work on it, and so there were a lot of local ties to that. We also did recommend a lot of locations for that as well, but none of them have worked out yet. And then High Maintenance filmed also. That's an HBO show. They filmed in Poughkeepsie, and Girls filmed at
Oh,
SUNY New Paltz and
that's
also
cool.
filmed across the river. And then this is before, I think it's before my time. Sopranos filmed
Well,
in
yeah.
Dutchess County also.
Yep.
Speaking of, I was going to ask you, what is your favorite HBO series of all time?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I know it's hard. Top.
I'm
How
gonna
about one
say,
you could
I'm
like
gonna say,
rewatch?
I
Yeah.
have to say something that filmed locally, but
No, you don't.
but I'm a huge fan of Euphoria, and
Oh,
We talked about
I
that first season.
I just
Yeah.
think it's so creative. And but that being said, I know this much is true. To me, is incredible. It's incredibly sad, so most people can't deal with it.
Mhm.
But I think it's done so beautifully, uh, and it spans 7 decades, which is so incredible. And I have a huge affinity to that because we recommended a lot of the locations in that, and
Mhm.
like the old tannery where they're working in 1912. Well, we recommended an old tannery in
Wow.
Wappingers Falls, and they ended up using it. Not only did they use it for the tannery, they used it as their craft shop, their wood shop, where they built all the sets, and they also used it as the costume department. And the costume
Uh-huh.
department on that was amazing. You would walk in, and it was this massive building, and you would walk through decades. Each decade had its own section, so you would walk through the 1910s and then into the
Oh,
1920s
wow.
and then the 1930s, and then you'd get to the 1970s with the bell bottoms and stuff. It was pretty amazing. Really
his
cool.
his
uh,
has that tavern ever that just a random thought just popped up. That tavern, that really old, is it Snyder? I'm gonna get this wrong.
Snyder's.
Snyder's.
Has
Snyder's.
it been used in film or
Yeah, it's been used in
yeah?
music videos. So it was most recently it was
Great
used in
segue.
Wolf is the name of the music video, and I'm gonna forget the name of the band, but I'll remember because my phone is right here.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, before we jump away, I have two all right, let me go in order here. I'll keep it on sort of on topic. One of our favorite shows that we've covered, well, two of them I would say, would be in Just Like That, which I know there's going to be no chance probably in them taking a field trip up here for any of those scenes because it's a
For
city-based
what?
show, but
And just
we're
like
big
that, the Sex and the
with
City
Sarah Jessica
reboot.
Parker.
Wait! Before
Wait.
I forgot The Undoing. The Undoing
Oh, The
was a
Undoing,
huge
of course.
The
we've seen.
Undoing. That's what inspired
Yeah.
me to do this podcast because I kept
Yes.
talking with my friends about The Undoing, and I was like, I like to talk about HBO shows and like with my friends. So anyway,
The Undoing was a major show, and the funny thing about The Undoing is that we had recommended that they contact the town of Ulster to close down 209
Oh yeah, that
for
affected me
scenes
big time. I live right by 209.
where Mark Ruffalo runs across the street and all these crazy scenes where he's running across traffic, and then they have buses from like the 1940s and stuff like that. So we recommended for that, and
Wait,
then
wasn't it? What's his name?
no, he's talking. So
oh no, I'm going to
you're
get to the
talking about.
Okay.
I know this
No.
much is true. Sorry. Yeah.
So I know this much is true was the first one, and then because the film world is so small, the Undoing found that 209 can be potentially
Can be closed.
And that one came back, and I think that one had like 4 helicopters,
Yes.
and it was totally insane.
I remember that.
Yeah,
When they're
they
filming
had a
it.
helicopter actually on that one that landed at the intersection of Wirtz at
Yep.
the Wirtz Bridge, right
Oh,
smack
yes,
in the middle of the street. And I was like, how did they land
That's
How
that?
did they?
crazy.
And that bridge has been closed down for like 2 decades. I feel like.
That,
Oh my
that has
gosh.
nothing to do with film.
I know.
That's,
But it's scary
that's
they
actually-
were
It
on it.
is.
so that might be actually one of my favorite locations because we do recommend that bridge all the time, and we're annoyed that it's being renovated, but
Right.
I'm sure
Mm.
safety first. But a lot of really good movies on that. The funny thing about so I remember how I said that I like to do the 1 Degree of Separation. Well, the funny scene about on The Undoing. Oh, I'm going to forget everyone's name. The father is who's the
Hugh?
father?
Wait,
Huh?
you mean the main Hugh Grant or no?
Hugh Grant. Thank you.
Hugh Grant,
But
yes.
Hugh Grant has that scene with his son in
Yep.
that
Mhm.
on the bridge.
Yes.
Well, the son is the same is also the kid on the bridge in oh my god, in the other movie that I was talking about earlier.
I know this much
The
is true. No.
no the silent what's it called? I should have
Quiet Place?
I should have a list of all the films. A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know the
So
scene
it's the same
on
child?
yeah, it's the same child.
Oh.
Different fathers, same child.
And he's British, I think, too. I mean, I know who
Yeah,
Grant is,
we
but
did we actually did
the kid is too.
we did a blog that we wrote a blog about all the bridges in the area and their use in different projects and I was like and I was looking at the pictures and I was like that's the same kid.
That's so
Sure
funny.
enough, yeah.
Wow.
Huh.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, she was
No,
talking
that's
about.
okay.
But
Talking
I
about just
remember
like
The Undoing. So and it was the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. So the Yeah Yeah Yeahs was the band that just did a video
Oh.
called Wolf.
At Snyder's.
right.
Yep.
I still have not been there and want to go there desperately.
Oh, okay. I can't imagine you going
I
in
feel
there.
like we
because
should go for a
there is
field trip.
Oh, I've been there. There's a smell. There's a smell that you're going to be like, she, you might be fine, but yes, but I highly recommend it because you gotta go there. It's just a rite of passage. So we'll go there.
Yeah, it's like going down to that bar that I've talked about before down in New York.
In the city,
What's
the oldest
tavern?
I always forget the name of it.
McSorley's?
McSorley's.
Yes, McSorley's. Yeah,
I went there.
That's
That was
legendary, and that just smells like beer. And
No, that place doesn't.
and
No,
business
that was
men.
fine.
Yeah.
That was fine.
Like beer and business.
Snyder's.
That's a legendary place.
Yes,
I used to live
yes.
5-6 blocks from there. So
Good times down there. All right, so my random question. So I'm a big music person.
Mm-hmm.
Music runs deep in my roots, specifically country western, like we're talking 50s, 60s, 70s, that. But besides that, I would love to know the last show you went to live.
the last show I went to.
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's crazy because it's actually a country singer. From
What
Austin.
are the odds?
I forgot his. He ran for mayor in Austin. Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. I'm getting old, so I
Something's
forget
familiar.
everybody's name. Country singer who ran for mayor of Austin.
I feel like I should know this.
I know. I feel like you should too.
My dad will be so disappointed.
You'll know who
you
it
Googling
is.
I think Laurent's Googling it.
I'm trying to. Kinky Friedman.
Yeah, there we go.
So
That's
I
the
saw-
last show you went to.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was at Bearsville.
Oh,
I used to. I think in 1980, I used to go to a lot of concerts. There's only like I have a handful of people I would go see. Bucket list people. Some who I want to see again, but it's I don't go out much. I'll admit it. I've become a hermit since COVID. I deal with a lot of people over the internet, but I do visit sets. I visited 3 sets last week. It was actually amazing because I visited one. There was a film that was shooting at Minnewaska State Park, and I went to visit them. And it just occurred to me when I went there that I hadn't been there in 20 years. I used to go there with my kids all the time. And I was like, why haven't you been here? It's like one of the most glorious places ever.
My son's going there for a field trip tomorrow.
camp.
For his camp.
So
It's
beautiful.
gorgeous. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It was used recently, like I said, by this new movie called Good One, but also Severance filmed about 3 weeks there over over the winter. Well, March and April, I should say. They were waiting for snow. They finally got snow. I met the guy the person who runs the park, and I said, "How did you get it to snow 15 inches when they needed it?" It's a lucky break, because that film, when they were filming in Kingston as well, and they did this the year before. This is the second season that they filmed here, and what they do is they actually come with trucks filled with snow, and they shovel the snow onto the sidewalks. It's kind of weird because
it's like straight out of a Hallmark movie.
People usually remove snow from sidewalks.
Yes.
But they also filmed at the Dia in Beacon. That was an unexpected surprise. They filmed here probably about 40 days over the winter, and they were working with my favorite location manager, Steve Griffno. He was just a scout on that, but he's great. As I keep repeating.
That's all right.
So we mentioned HBO, but we've also worked with Hulu quite a bit. Life and Death with Amy Schumer.
I love that. I binge watched it the first time I got COVID, and I loved it. And I didn't realize that was filmed up here till just recently. The farm, right, or the winery.
Yep. Well, they filmed the first season's almost all entirely here.
That's so cool.
All the farm scenes. I love that show. I didn't expect it to be as deep as it was.
Me neither.
Really, it was good. It was wonderful. You laugh and make you cry.
I love Michael Cera. That made me so much too. Love him.
Well, he's done about 4 or 5 films here. They just released the latest film he was in, which filmed mostly in Saugerties, and actually they filmed in Millbrook also. And they filmed in Orange County, Dutchess County, and Ulster County, but it's called The Adults, and that just got released. They just filmed season 2 of Life and Beth in April.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah, I had heard. I didn't realize there was going to be a second season. I thought that it was just like a one.
Well,
deal.
Unfortunately, most of the second season was filmed in some place called New Orleans or something. I don't know.
New Orleans
instead of here, but they did the last week was done here. So day 50 was done here. The rap party was here. And
that's what matters.
That's all that matters.
That's all.
Speaking of New Orleans, we did another Hulu show where the Mardi Gras parade was on Wall Street in Kingston.
Oh, geez,
that's funny.
And that was done in November, and it was like 20 degrees outside. It was so cold.
Mardi Gras.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm going to forget the name of that film.
Say what show was that?
That was a Hulu show.
Okay.
And let's see what else. So we've done Apple. We've worked with Apple a lot on Severance. Mm-hmm. And we worked with Hulu. Oh, and we worked with NBC on the most popular show we've ever done. So I don't want to forget that. It was called Poker Face.
Oh.
Oh, okay. So here we go.
I think I knew that. I think I knew it was around here.
I brought the list up in front of me so I don't forget anymore. There's another HBO film that we worked with very closely called The Plot Against America. And then Monsterland is what I'm talking about. The episode 3 takes place in New Orleans. Okay. And New Orleans was filmed in the Hudson Valley.
Street.
Oh, we got to check that out.
So there you go, New Orleans. we like to brag that we can do almost any location. It gets a little tough with the Rocky Mountains. I have a few places that I reserve for that, because you can film anything on the Appalachian Trail with the rocks and stuff. You can pretend, there's places that look like you're climbing Everest. There are some. I
If
mean,
there was
most things are close-ups. If you want to shoot the long
right,
shot, go to Montana for a day and then come
hmm
back. We just
that's
did
true.
we just did a film called Park Avenue, and they wanted their request was they needed a farm in a Canadian prairie farm.
Hmm.
So we recommended two locations. One was the Ankeny Beef Farm in Rhinebeck, which is
Hmm.
glorious, has
Yeah.
a view of the mountains in the distance, and then a horse farm in Armenia, which was gorgeous as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, you can do anything on for Maniac, which was a Netflix series. There's another company that we've worked with. Uh, they filmed a lot on the dwarf pines up at Minnewaska, which
Hmm.
is kind of otherworldly.
Mm-hmm.
Filmed the scene there with Julia Garner, and it was pretty beautiful.
Cool.
Netflix. I'm sure we've done well. Things Heard and Seen. Amanda Seyfried. That was Netflix.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I remember hearing about her. Doesn't she about her being up here or have a
Hmm.
she lives.
house or something? Yeah.
I'm not going to say who lives up here.
No, don't
Yeah.
say. But I kind of heard.
But
Well, I think there is a show that Jackie and I covered, and it's probably one of our, at least I think collectively, it's one of our favorites, and it's not filmed here, but if ever they could come here and recreate Kansas,
Oh,
somebody
somebody
somewhere.
somewhere.
Have
Oh,
you watched that?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I know the producers very
Oh,
well.
oh,
Jay and Mark Duplass.
that
Let's see,
show is
Duplass brothers.
incredible.
Yeah,
we love
that's the
that
kind
Probably
of
show.
one of
show.
my all-time favorites.
Yeah,
That's a really nice little show. You know, where you
Yes.
yeah,
can I mean, that's I'm not going to say any of the streamers that we've done are small little shows.
hmm
They're they're quite a bit bigger than that. But what's remarkable is that you were just saying that you didn't realize that Life and Beth was coming back. Well, that's that's a big deal for us now that season
yeah,
two. So
yeah.
on my letterhead now, or what I sign my signature in my emails, I always put S2 or S. We did S7 for Billions, so Billions
Mm,
is
Wow.
just filmed part of season 7 here. So it's that's amazing. And I was just talking. We just did an interview with the Production Guild magazine, and we were talking about how incredibly important the streamers are for creating full time work opportunities, because those films last anywhere from 9 months to 15 months, and then they
Uh,
come back and do it all
yeah,
over again. So
yeah.
that gives people an opportunity to really make a living working in the business.
hmm.
And we I love independent films. That's the world I come out of. But independent film will film generally anywhere from 15 days to 30 days, and then it's gone. Well, with the
Right.
streamers, they're just constantly filming.
Yeah.
So, so in terms of creating economic development and job opportunities, and renting local certain qualified production facilities or sound stages, that's a whole other aspect of business where those stages have to be kept
Right. And then
ended.
local
So
businesses too, and restaurants
Yeah.
and everything.
absolutely.
So it's great.
Yes, I
Yeah.
heard somewhere, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that actors and crew members like to go out after work. And
Wow, that's so weird.
I don't
Imagine
know.
that.
I heard they like to drink at bars and eat at restaurants. And
Shocking.
we don't actually. That's the one data that we don't collect. we,
Mm,
Yeah. All
we try
right.
to find out. We concentrate on how many actors were hired, how many background were hired, how many crew members were hired, how many hotel rooms.
hmm
We try to collect all that data, and just to let local politicians and state politicians know how important it is to keep the tax credits going, because
Yep.
without the tax credits, all these productions would disappear overnight. I know people don't always like to hear that, but that's the state of the way things work. And
Mm-hmm.
Georgia still is outdoing us in terms of tax credits. So we're always competing with states like Georgia and Alabama and Oklahoma,
Mm.
uh, because they uh, have film tax credits that are stronger than ours. Uh, they just improved the New York State tax credit, so it's going to make a huge difference. And we're looking forward to all these potential strikes getting settled
Mm-hmm.
and getting more and more productions here.
Good. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for
Yeah, sure.
everything. They're like a walking filing cabinet. I love it.
I know.
Yeah,
In
I
a good
can,
way.
Yes, I
like
love it.
during COVID. Let me I just So on our website we have something called the Stream Fest. It's a link that we did this during COVID when nobody was able to go out, and if you click on the Stream Fest link, it'll bring you to a page where every single movie that was filmed here
Oh, cool.
is listed with a link to where you can watch it. So
Oh,
Okay.
and and for a while I was writing down a little story about every film and how it came, what they did here and how,
yeah.
but I stopped that
That's a lot.
a while ago. But there's still a few entertaining stories there. Uh, I don't know if
Oh,
they're
that's cool.
entertaining, but it's a good way to see what was filmed here over the past
Oh, cool.
23 years. Plus, we even go even further back to films that were filmed here before that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well, I'll link
just to,
that. Yeah, I'll link
yeah.
that when I publish this.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I
I'm just
probably
on
need
the.
to
Yeah.
update it again because I'm always it's hard to keep up with everything, but
Mhm.
I think I have to add a few films to that. But it's a good
Cool.
place to go to
Yeah.
see all the films. So, but the other thing that people should understand is that for every film that you see there, there's probably 5 to 7 that we didn't get because it's a
Mm.
very business,
Competitive. Yeah.
and so we're always working trying to get a film here. It doesn't always work out, but we do make every effort possible. So
Cool.
anyway, thanks
Thank you
for
for sharing that too.
having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much. And
All right.
all right.
Thank
Thank
you.